Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. I'm Blaze, and we're going to be bringing you guys a game between Virtus Pro and RoX.KIS, Radical Online Extremists. Sorry, got caught in the whole Russian theme there, but yeah, going on through it. It's going to be RoX versus VP, so this will be pretty interesting. NS's team versus Dread's team. It's been one that has been played multiple times over. In this case, it looks like he's slotting himself in as Bread to be playing in this game here, but it'll be pretty interesting either way. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting matchup here, and yeah, going on into the draft. I have here my co-caster Vikramon. How's it going, man?
Hey man, it's going well. I do really like the Bread instead of Dread. If he wants to change his name, I think in general it'd be good if people went for more food names and less like threatening names. So Dread to Bread is a name change that I support in terms of aliases.
Most definitely, most definitely. So this is pretty interesting. First ban Darkseer isn't something that we've seen in quite a while. A lot of people are more afraid of the Bat Rider, even potentially the Magnus or something like that. What do you think about this Darkseer ban right immediately?
It's kind of somewhat KSI targeted. He's good with both Lone Druid and Darkseer, but because Lone Druid actually got banned out by VP, RoX sort of take out the Darkseer just as sort of a targeted KSI ban. He's been anchoring the team more and more recently. I feel like he's a really, really important component of their game plan. But I think it might just be that, plus it's a hero that they don't want to see, plus it's a hero that they don't really like playing that much. I've seen Dread on Darkseer. He's good, but nothing like completely world-dominating or destroying. Like it's solid, but I think it's just a hero that, especially depending on what sort of team lineup they actually want to pick up, they might not want to face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do see the Bat Rider picked up as a very, very powerful mid option there. I think it's a really good selection from there. But Virtus Pro currently answering back with a Lifestealer, which is considered one of probably one of the better carries in the North American / European scene. So he's going to be picked up, despite the fact he's going to be going up against that Flaming Lasso. But he still has a lot of potential there because he can rage out of the other disables that are posed by any of the supportive pickups of RoX. And along with that, he'll just be able to dish out a ton of damage, have a lot of survivability. The one thing that he just needs is to be able to stay on target, so either building mobility himself or drafting up some pretty good disables, and we already see that here with Virtus Pro selecting up the puck. Presumably Tame My Wild going to be picking that up, or do you think we could see it on the offlane?
No, it's going to be Tame My Wild. The reason this puck is here is RoX have the option of responding with Magnus, and then Bat Rider Magnus in concert is much more difficult for Lifestealer to deal with than just Bat Rider by himself. Because the thing about Lifestealer, and part of what makes him pretty OP, is that you can like counter him, you can take stuff that breaks through, magic immunity, you can take disables, and he still just sort of wins more than half the time. But what you can do is sort of stack, so you can pick up Bat Rider and Magnus and Bane and Shadow Demon if you want. You could take all four. But the Magnus pick becomes much less attractive when there's already a puck on the board, regardless of where VP end up laning this puck. And yeah, it's possible that they could put it something like a solo safe. The point is that it's there as a mid option in case RoX actually go for the Magnus. Puck being fairly strong, I think one of the strongest Magnus responses that the game has, or at least that the current meta has discovered.
Yeah, most definitely. So that's probably one of the better options there. But yeah, I think the puck is a great selection in that regard. But drafting up a little bit differently here, seeing the Keeper of the Light. It did get through the draft there, one of those top-tier supports alongside the Nyx and the Wisp. So yeah, Ezreal is going to get on through, but they're actually going to be running a Gyrocopter alongside it, I believe anyways. I mean, they have run the Gyrocopter as a mid previously, but I don't really think that that's what they want to do in this situation here, because otherwise they'd be having to scramble for a completely different carry that would have a very, very different mindset. This here, what they're going for is a lot of potential to initiate with the Bat Rider. He jumps in, blinks, possibly forces away with that lassoed Lifestealer or whoever, and following that up is a suppressing Illuminate and Call Down charging up, which pretty much 100% deters Virtus Pro from retaliating from that kind of initiation. They try to go in, they're like, hey, we gotta save our main buddy, he's a very, very linchpin type hero in our lineup, and then you don't really have a choice because you have all that AoE magic damage just put into this tiny sphere and thrust right back that other direction. So it becomes very, very difficult to respond to that kind of those plays there.
Yeah, I don't think this is a mid gyro. Mid gyro would also have struggle against puck, A, and B, Arsart Leshrac could just rotate over and get a pick off on that gyro whenever they feel like it. The whole problem with mid gyrocopter is he's pretty killable, pretty gankable, and so when you already see that Leshrac being picked up third, sort of Arsart specialist hero, you really don't want to go with something as dangerous as that. I think it's much more likely we'll see a tri-lane, most likely a tri-lane carry Gyrocopter. He is pretty good against Lifestealer, at least in the abstract. I feel like the new builds coming out of Lifestealer with the high movement speed might actually tip the scales of that. But there's not enough data to actually know. Like, statistically speaking, people just haven't played the movement speed heavy Lifestealer against Gyrocopter enough for it to be a factor. Or rather, for me to know for a fact. But it seems like it should be better. Like, if the Lifestealer can get better time on target, it should theoretically sort of tip the scales of that matchup.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting there. Do you think the Lifestealer is going to kind of go for one of those little race car builds where he can get the phases and the drums and just throw on as much movement speed as possible so that he can be on point, or is he just going to be relying on the Dream Coil and Split Earth?
I haven't personally seen Airman go that build that much, so I don't know. Just in terms of a personal preference angle, you might not have that happen. I personally really like it. I think even with the Dream Coil, even with the Leshrac, it's still one of the better ways to build this hero now. Still obviously having the armlet, because the armlet is crucial, but also building out that heavy move speed. But, I don't know, we'll see. I actually would say probably it's not going to happen, which is not to say I wouldn't like to see it happen.
Yeah, we do see the Shadow Demon coming on up, and we are talking about that as a counteractive mechanism as well. Kind of surprising that Virtus.pro didn't opt to ban it out, considering it's so great with Keeper of the Light as well. You combine Keeper of the Light and Shadow Demon together, they have amazing lane presence, and then following that up, it's just a no-brainer pick because of the fact that it can counteract Lifestealer so directly. So they have the Blinding Light when he's not raged, and as soon as he rages, you have that Flaming Lasso, you have the Demonic Purge, you have different great ways to shut him down, but we see a Mirana pick coming out of Virtus.pro, and this is something that I actually have not seen a competitive game in months. What the heck is this Mirana pick about? So,
there's a couple different things. Mirana has been seeing some play recently, particularly in Southeast Asian games, as a hard carry. So if they do run a dual core lineup with the Mirana and the Lifestealer, it's a pretty good option. Mirana, surprisingly effective. She's got good agi gain. You get something like Manta Style pretty fast on her. We've also seen Shadow Blade, just to set up those perfect initiations, where if you can get a very long duration stun, especially on something like a Gyrocopter before he finds his BKB timing, you can disable him for a pretty long time. And the other thing, of course, is Moonlight Shadow. 15-second Moonlight Shadow is not a joke. It's a pretty serious ability. Like, if you have, basically, it's like a free smoke, but it's better than smoke, because provided that they don't have vision, you can start right on top of them if you want. And it, of course, re-smokes you periodically. So this lets Lifestealer's initiation be better, it lets Mirana's initiation be better. It's just a good overall teamfight spell in concert with the fact that she can do great auto-attack damage late if she develops.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So do you think there's going to be a safe lane Mirana solo, and then an aggressive tri-lane coming out of Leshrac, Lifestealer, and another support? I think that would probably be the best way to lane it, because Mirana's base damage right now makes it so difficult for her to find any farm at all in an off-lane situation. So, yeah, it seems like that's what Virtus.pro is going to be looking at. But answering back, RoX brings back the Enigma here. This is something that we also haven't seen as much recently. It's still a competitive hero, still has a lot of potential, and specifically here, he feels unthreatened as far as getting that black hole off. The only thing he really has to worry about is that Puck's Dream Coil. It's instant, it has a mini stun, but beyond that, the other things, there's a bit of a delay on the Split Earth, and on the arrow, it needs some setup there. So, in general, I think Enigma will find some black holes here.
Yeah.
It's just based on his positioning versus the puck to decide if it's going to be a lasting one or not. But either way,
I like the
very powerful pick, and I think it'll add a lot to the lineup.
Okay, so it's actually might be a like a fluff and stuff support Mirana, maybe. Now that we see the Outworld coming out as well.
Wow.
This is interesting. I mean, it is basically a fluff and stuff support Mirana, I guess, right?
Well, I suppose, I mean, we do see that the puck has been picked up by Tame My Wild, so he's going to be running that on mid.
Yeah.
But then where the heck is that Lifestealer going to go?
The Arsart Lifestealer.
Jungle Lifestealer is pretty much what I'm guessing there.
It could be.
It's not efficient. It's not efficient at all. I will 100% beat that dead horse. It is not in the best way to run a Lifestealer if you want him to be your primary carry. However, if you can just find a good opportunity, 15 minutes in, well, the first minute through the 15 minutes, just not being that much under pressure, having a medium potential Lifestealer with some good solid items is going to do a lot for you. It's going to add in a little bit of extra durable frontline damage, and also it's not going to be that big of a deal if you get Demonic Purge, if you get lassoed or Black Hold, because you have two other heroes that are dealing a ton of damage.
Yeah, can we talk about the OD for a second?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So certainly this lineup will have taken RoX by surprise because this is definitely a VP like pocket like thing that they've been developing or holding or even want to try out. VP, what's their playoff status is that they're pretty solid, but they could still not make it, right? Like
yeah,
they've lost
I think this is actually a
games.
really big game for them. They need to win this game if they want to be able to directly compete because No Tidehunter has 3 games coming up in the next week. They've been having so many postponed games that No Tidehunter has a huge chance of just moving right up on the rankings from where they are comparatively. So yeah, right now Virtus.pro 5th place wants to go into that playoff bubble 1 through 4.
They're 5th, right?
Yeah, they're actually ranked 5th right now. So
they were first not too long ago.
Exactly, they were 1st and 2nd vying
so,
for that. But
OD, he's got gobs of burst. Like he can blow up your entire team with 1 hit if he so desires. My question about OD in this game, and maybe you can address this, Blaze, is he's up against a lineup that contains 4 intelligence heroes. These aren't the highest int growth dudes in the game, particularly Batrider, but I just feel like this ult won't actually do nearly as much damage as if you picked it against, you know, a lineup including Magnus or something.
Yeah. I kind of feel like there's like a big bad wolf mentality here. It's like all the more intellect to steal, my dear. But yeah, nevertheless, his ultimate
but that's not
going to be that great. Like you get more potential for Astral Imprisonment to reduce their damage because they benefit from that stat in that sense.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with what you're saying there with the ultimate being based on the difference. And if you have if they have plenty of intellect to spare, then you're not going to actually be able to get a quick burst off. It still will hurt, but a Yol picking up an early mechanism could easily counteract that idea. And I don't know. I think it might be more oriented towards just a hard right, like Outworld Devourer, more so than basing his potential around his ultimate.
I think so. The thing about Astral Imprisonment too is it's weird because you'd think that it would be good against high-int supports, but it's actually kind of not. What it's good, the best use cases for Astral Imprisonment, at least in my opinion, maybe I'm totally off base, are A, heroes who aren't intellect-based who require mana for their items. So, for instance, Astral Imprisonment will just dump all over Templar Assassin, Brewmaster, Night Stalker, these heroes who don't have a lot of mana, but really need to cast spells. Chaos Knight, too, for that matter. So you just completely zero out their mana and then they're screwed. The other thing it's good against is other intellect carries, that, you know, that rarefied breed, where there's not too many of them. But if you're taking away somebody's auto-attack damage, and their auto-attack damage matters, then Astral Imprisoment's really good, too, for the steal effect. And neither of that is true for RoX.KIS. I almost feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm missing something big about this lineup that you can decode for me, but I almost feel like the teams are picking past each other. Like that 5th pick from RoX.KIS, the Enigma, this completely solves, in my opinion, the problem of the Lifestealer, but it has nothing to say about Mirana or Outworld Devourer. And Outworld Devourer has nothing to say about any of the people that RoX.KIS picked up. So I feel like both teams were just sort of like, you know, it'd be a cool lineup, these heroes. So we're going to use them.
Interesting. Now, the first pick did come out to RoX.KIS, so the Outworld Devourer actually came... actually, we're looking at a lot of damage coming on TMW. He does have a fully charged magic stick, though, so he might be able to at least trade it off here. The first blood does go in that direction, but a salve wasted by Solo, and he will fall as well. So he did get a ton of gold out of that. He's already got his bottle, TPing on into the mid lane, but using that salve made it a little bit less successful than what he had intended, because he did end up falling. And he does have a great experience advantage compared to the puck, but the gold advantage is only so-so.
Yeah, that's the thing about the puck being dead, or rather TMW being dead when Solo dies, is that you end up with a full level advantage. That's a huge deal. The amount that he can actually bully TMW is enormous. Like, look, he's literally just doing it again.
Yeah, exactly. But now Puck has finally been able to get to a good level where he can actually spam out that orb more effectively, and I think that he can actually kind of go back and forth. But I think it was a good move by TMW to save up that many stick charges, but it just didn't do enough in that situation there. Solo had so much HP to work with because although the Puck has longer range, he's been afraid to harass him, afraid to auto-attack him down, and now Solo can just keep on doing this, keep on forcing him to hug the tower, even if he can avoid a couple of autos there. Meanwhile, down at bottom, Bread is going for that Soul Ring rush after the Basilius, trying to go very, very early on for some spamming of the Eidolons and trying to making Illidan's life a little bit more miserable. But honestly, OD has such amazing last hit potential with his now rank 2 Astral Imprisonment and the Null Talisman that he was able to pick up early on. He's having not too much issues right now, currently sitting at 7-3. Not as much as the Enigma has going for himself, but it's going to get worse and worse.
It's going to get worse and worse, exactly. I'm glad you... Actually, triple mid, Solo's dead.
Oh, wow. You have lots of action there with NS, and keep on forgetting which name that was
Arzart.
Okay, that's
Arzart. It's because his real life name is Sergey, and Seryoshka is like it's a diminutive for Sergey.
Sure, sure.
I love this play from VP is so greedy. It's a quad core lineup. They have a solo safe Mirana, a solo hard OD in the 1v1 lane, Lifestealer in the jungle, and Puck in the middle. Now, RoX.KIS, I think, will know what their mission is, and their mission is just, disrupt any of them, and they won't be all that useful. But at least in the bottom, I actually think Airman's going to start winning this lane right quick, because Dread simply does not have the mana. Now that he has Soul Ring, he'll occasionally have the mana to Eidolons, but there's just going to be so much harassment coming out from Airman onto Dread.
Yeah. So one thing I want to talk about, since we were mentioning the draft and this, the relevance of this Outworld Devourer pickup, it is one of the carries, one of the few carries that has an instantaneous way to interrupt a black hole. Just being able to click the Astral Imprisonment off and interrupt that entirely. Along with that, he can just negate its potential by stealing enough intellect, because it gets very costly, especially if you decide to rank it up to rank 2 or 3, level 11, level 16. It's going to just get immense mana cost that you can't really run a mechanism and have a rank 3 black hole, especially when intellect has been stolen. Now we do see Puck actually getting Flame Break away from his tower without the orb available. He will pop off a face shift, but it won't be enough for it just yet. Jaunting away, good timing with that. He will bottle, he will salve, and Team W will be able to survive, but still a lot of pressure coming in from solo, and the salve has been cancelled off.
I like this this idea of the roaming smoked Leshrac and Lifestealer. I mean, here's the thing. Lifestealer is a good setup
go for the open wounds. They will get off this splitter. Like you're saying, NS will be able to get that off. The destruction comes out from Bond score. So actually, they're turning around a little bit. Nice flame break. Nice soul catcher. A lot of damage coming out. It won't be enough to bring him down, but certainly enough to dissuade him off that lane.
Wacky laning here, Blaze. I love it. I love the wackier the better, I say. And I like what Dread is doing here, also in the bottom. He's only coming back to this lane to sort of push it off the tower, and otherwise he's just farming the jungle. Because when he's in the lane, he just has so much trouble actually getting his last hits and managing to put any harassment on Airman. So I really like that. One thing he's been doing really well, by the way, is denying his own Eidolons. He's denied so many of them. I don't think Illidan's actually successfully killed any of these Eidolons.
I think he's killed a couple during Astral.
Oh, there we go. He got one there.
So yeah, it's not extra gold in Illidan's pocket, and that's something where he's actually had his farm delayed a little bit, duking it back and forth. As I said, he'll get more and more last hit potential as he ranks up this prison, but it's going to be delaying his Force Staff, it's going to be delaying his potential as far as kind of being a real major threat with hard right-click damage. But either way, one thing to mention here is they're actually coming in again, Leshrac, and they go for this ultimate from the Puck, coiling him up, so he is going to be caught out here with the open wounds to follow. There is that Split Earth, and there comes the Shadow Demon, but not fast enough. Split Earth actually does miss, and he gets defensively disrupted. This might be enough to peel him on out. They get enough right-click damage, though, and he's going to actually drop down here. So, good attempt, good TP from Bonks, but it wasn't enough to actually change his fate here. And this is pretty much the power of NS and Arzart roaming on together. It's kind of like the classic Sven-Lina roaming combo from like ages ago, but in this situation, they have the added benefit. First of all, it doesn't cost nearly as much mana. They're not as reliant on that. But along with that, they also get the chance to farm the jungle a lot. Lifestealer tanking up on the front lines, getting 3 points in Feast to do so very, very efficiently, and Leshrac adding in some right-click damage there. So a little bit of a dual jungle, dual roam, and it seems to be working.
It's like the Sven-Lina dual roam, except both heroes are better, and both heroes, they can farm the jungle together. So they can actually get XP and gold when they're not actively ganking. Dread in trouble bottom, by the way. A lot of trouble.
Good prison coming on out. He only has a rank 1 waning rift, so there might be... No, he has no mana to work with anyway, so it's just going to be some extra damage. There is a big ultimate dropping down the hammer coming out of that Outworld Devourer, and they're going to be able to bring him down very, very nicely. They actually rotated all 4 down here. It might force them to actually lose the tier 1 tower. Fortification down, it's dropping down below 300 HP, and that's going to be plenty of time for them to finish this off, no problem at all.
Yeah, honestly, this is working extremely well for VP so far. They don't even need the... I was kind of wrong. I'd take back my statement about the quad core. They don't actually need Arzart to get much of anything. They just need him as an open wound spot, basically, for at least this stage of the game. Slow everybody down so that Puck and Leshrac and OD can make sure to just take a dump on them, basically.
So push versus push. Right now we see a tier 1 for tier 1 trade from the top and the bottom, but the mid is also getting pressed. They brought in Bread. He dropped down the rank 4 Eidolons. They're going to actually go in here, but it's an invisible Puck that they don't have any detection for. So good usage of invisible TP. You pop the rune, you pop the scroll, and the fade time will make it so that you won't break it until you arrive. and that makes it so that, of course, he was able to arrive there very safe and sound to try to counter-push it out.
Right. The one thing that I think is problematic for VP is that despite all this sort of clever play, and despite the fact that their players are so split up, I feel like they're not getting as much experience out of this as I thought that they would. Like, I thought that they'd be ahead on levels simply because the players are just all over the place. But they're kind of not. I mean, they're slightly ahead on experience, but when you actually impute that to levels, they're not really earning that great of an advantage, and they're actually behind on gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely about the tower's pressure and the fact that there's been consistent farming coming out of RoX.KIS, specifically on the gyrocopter here. He has a 380 GPM, farming up a bit of the jungle, always on that top lane, putting out that pressure in that direction. Yeah, Business Perfect is going to be able to move in towards Drum and other more active items to stay aggressive and stay fighting, because they don't need a late game gyrocopter that can go to 50 minutes and fight it on out. They just need the pressure now so they can keep the towers dropping, and from there,
absolutely,
they can get an overwhelming advantage that Virtus Pro, with their multi-core lineup, is not going to be able to contest with these item-dependent heroes.
If this goes 50 minutes, RoX have serious issues that probably don't include Gyro being underfarmed. They include, like, the fact that they're facing up against just a vastly more late-game lineup overall. I mean, the OD eventually, like, by that time, Gyrocopter's BKB would actually be running down. Like, he'd be basically out of magic immune time, and OD could just kill him with ultimate. So I think they definitely want to end this game well before the sort of time at which casters start excitedly talking about rapiers. Like, they don't want it to ever come to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting move by Sergey on the bottom. He actually wasted his last open wounds set of mana to open wounds a already TPing away Enigma. It was like a reflexive thing. See him in the jungle, gotta get him. Oh wait, I'm Lifestealer. I can do absolutely nothing about that. So just by himself, wasting a little bit of mana there. But in the end, that does mean that Enigma is still alive, Bread is active, and moving in towards that Buckler, trying to go for that mechanism here, and actually even... he had a Basilius previously, but turned it into a Tranquil Boots and the Soul Ring. So a good transition there from Bread, and he's going to be able to pick up that mechanism and stay mobile, stay active, and keep his health and mana very, very active.
Mech is all well and good, but actually VP will also have a mech up on Airman's Outworld Destroyer by then. So usually, sorry, goodness gracious, Outworld Devourer. So I don't know. I feel like one of the strengths of Enigma is that you can get that super fast mech on your team, but in this case, it's actually not any faster. And Dread is going to have trouble finding the farm now because VP have lockdown of the Radiant Jungle. Like, take a look at these three, this triad of words here, in combination with the fact they're just putting a ton of pressure on this tower. It's going to be very difficult for anybody from RoX.KIS to come farm this.
Exactly. So it was actually an interesting way the map was laid out right here. We had all these Radiant heroes, like 3 Radiant heroes up on the top lane, putting pressure out on that tier 2, and the same thing, kind of a mirror matchup down on the bottom. So in mid, he does go for a defensive disruption, but here comes Business Perfect trying to lay down some damage. Either way, just kind of force them back here as they drop off the prison. Interesting matchup between those two, but we do actually see the open wounds and the splitters locking down on Business Perfect. Little extra right-click damage goes the way of Outworld Devourer to bring him down, and that's actually a really key kill. This is the one core hero, the only really hero that matters, but Puck does drop down to Illuminate, not having the cooldowns or the reflexes to be able to actually avoid that.
I think his cooldowns are done.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't want to bag on his reflexes. I'm sure his reflexes are just dandy.
You never know, man, until you click the puck and see what it is. Some people, they're only human. They make their mistakes too. So in this situation, whoa, good play by Illidan. Got blinked on in. The lasso was about to come out from Batrider. Immediately the Astral Imprisonment hits him on the head. So no chance at all for Illidan to get locked down here. But he doesn't have too much counter push. He can right-click away at the creeps. That's all well and good. But we just saw Blink Dagger on the Batrider. That is something that they really have to be concerned about.
Definitely. Even with 1 in 3 solos, hitting his blink timing, and he's doing really well. And just in general, I still don't really know what KSI is doing for them right now. Unfortunately, he's pretty under level in this Mirana. Obviously, 1 versus 3 is a very, very difficult lane to live through, but right now this just isn't contributing that much. He's 0-0-0 with 10 last hits. I mean, they got to get this guy involved somehow.
So what do you think about the Moonlight Shadow potential, or the fact that they can combine the Prison into Arrow? Is there anything that we should be looking for here for their kind of usage of the Mirana as a utility initiator?
Well, I think you're right that she's actually less of an initiator. She's like a follow-on initiator. I mean, the Moonlight Shadow, yes. They will use the Moonlight Shadow to set up the stuns that are easier to hit, or the open wounds or something, and then have the arrow as the last thing.
Yeah.
But I still think that they could use, like, for instance, he has leveled heavy Starfall.
Oh, there's the Moonlight Shadow popping off on the prison. There is going to be a call down, a big Illuminate damage going down at Illidan, but he is pretty much out of there with the fact that they don't have detection for the moment. They do pop off the Lasso and the Black Hole, both onto just Arzard. They do actually get the Dream Coil up. This is perfect, going to take a lot of damage here. Gets right-click down, does try to barrage to send out some damage, but Solo actually breaking the coil will take a stun as well, but both of them walking away here. They get the buyback of the Enigma as well as the Black Hole, and just about every ultimate on RoX.KIS's line here. Holy crap, did they go for that Lifestealer when, again, he's only got a net worth of 3,300.
This is support Lifestealer, bros. You can tell, because there's support players on him. No, honestly, like, that's all about KSI. Like, I was just saying that they should get him involved, and they did. And shame on RoX.KIS for not having detection. Like I said at the beginning, like, Moonlight Shadow is no joke. They had sentry wards placed, so they have the positional detection, but they didn't have dust or something. And they fought in an area, like, they chose that fight.
Yeah.
That wasn't VP choosing that fight. They chose a fight here in an area that they didn't have any detection for, I guess thinking that he hadn't trained Moonlight Shadow, because actually you used to not train it.
Sure, sure.
Like, you used to only pick it up at, like, 11 or 12, or even at, like, 14.
Like 3 times as much mana back then, though.
And it was way less duration.
Sure.
The duration got, like, tripled or something. That's really what, in my opinion, makes it good again, is the fact that it's duration. Like, if you don't have detection, you just won't find that team ever. They'll be, like, halfway across the map.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they'll be right on top of you, whatever they feel like.
Exactly. It pretty much puts the balls in the court of Virtus Pro where they can decide where that action's going to be. In this case, RoX.KIS did force the issue on that mid lane, but they didn't really have too much ground to stand on. Good defensive prison, follow-up with everything else that came on through. If the Black Hole was actually used on everyone or something like that, it could have been completely different, but Bread put so much focus on lifesteal at the same time the Batrider had the same intention. Miscommunication and a lot of waste going on out. They are going to try to jaunt and phase shift away, but the phase shift won't come in time for that missile. It will. He will be able to avoid the rocket, and 3 seconds later, he will be able to orb on out, but for right now, just Dream Coiling them 2 in. They cannot pursue to the southeast, and yeah, he's going to go right on underneath their noses. Wow. Really,
the problem is they're going to get this turned around.
Fawn's taking a lot of damage. The mechanism comes out from Bread, though, and they're all fine for the moment. Here's Lifestealer up in the action here. He gets lassoed up. A lot of damage coming in towards Arzard. Defensively, astrally imprisoned, and he will be able to survive as well. Nobody falling yet. Holy crap, everybody stays up, but NS doing a lot of damage with that Pulse Nova, trying to dish it out, but Business Perfect sending it back the other direction, and with this stun coming out of Bread, they might be able to finish him off, but first, dodging out the Split Earth now, NS will finally fall. First kill in this fight. Business Perfect about to drop down now with the Infest, with the right-click damage. And my goodness, that was such a long fight for nobody actually dying. So much defensive capability.
The number 1 died. I mean, they lost Gyrocopter. That's who they need farm on. Who cares if they lose NS on the track?
Yeah. Now we do see Puck is taking a lot of hits here, will be Flamebreak back in, and actually just dies to the Firefly here, so they're going to continue going on through. Good Napalm stacks continuing, but not hitting on the Raged Lifestealer, so he will be able to just drum and phase on out of there, but the Force Staff and Blink says otherwise. Solo staying on target, Flame breaking him back, no Firefly, but the Napalm continues. And we might even want to go underneath the Tier 1, but it's actually just open wounds, giving time for Arzard to just slip on out of there. So yeah, what do you think about the fact that these chases and fights keep on going very, very extended? What about the fact that the time pretty much pulls it apart here? Which team has the upper hand for a longer duration engagement?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. In a very long engagement, I feel like Puck is still gonna sort of rule the waves, although Batrider is a big deal too. The thing about these guys is that they actually have a lot of abilities that work really well so long as the other team is sort of staying in one location, so they can't actually, neither team can really effectively take advantage of the other team, like, running away. Like, for instance, Illuminate. Illuminate relies upon the fact that in the next 5 seconds, nobody's just gonna leave. Yeah. And similarly to a lot of Puck spells, of course, Puck has Dream Coil too to ensure that people don't leave. But if you think about things like Split Earth, like even Black Hole or Midnight Pulse or something, it all sort of actually could be trouble for TMW depending on what Solo does here.
Still gets kind of stalking him up. He does pop up the Firefly, gets some vision, phase shift, and the waiting grip immediately after will keep him up, and that missile not going to be too much of an issue either. So yeah, good reflexes from him. And Solo unfortunately got fog juked right when he wanted to start the initiation, and popped off the Firefly for some vision, but to no avail.
So I want to say, Blaze, that the advantage in a long fight rests with RoX.KIS, just because they have all these really low cooldown spells, like Napalm, Shadow Poison from Shadow Demon, who is going that heavy Shadow Poison build that's pretty much ubiquitous now. So he's got 3 in Shadow Poison and 1 in everything else. I want to say that, but in practice, I don't know about their like team fight coordination in terms of who they're focusing. Like, I don't love the let's kill Arsart. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you can, and then you won't be open wounds anymore. But
I mean, if you could just imagine them getting a lasso off on Outworld where he can't use that long duration prison, can't drop the ulti, or use the mech, I mean, that would be game changing. That would make it so that they could just break the team fight wide open. I mean, there is, like you said, some damage coming out of Arzart and NS, and some good initiation potential from the puck, but in general, it's still a really, really good position for them to come on in and try to go for that high priority hero.
sure. And I mean, the nice thing for RoX.KIS is they are farming way better because Virtus.pro are spending all their time doing these big roams, trying to find out the kill. And to RoX.KIS's credit, they've been very careful about not giving VP too many kills. I mean, this is 12 kills by 18 minutes. Not CIS Dodo, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, interesting. We do see Puck popping off that Dream Coil, dishing out a lot of damage onto Yol. He will be locked out of that with the Force Staff, but he doesn't care about the stun. Here comes Moonlight Shadow, but the Sentry Ward is down. Defensive Disruption, but it looks like Biz will still fall. No, the mechanism for Bread. Beautiful black hole, turning it around underneath the call down. So much damage. Now,
wow.
There is going to be some damage coming out from the Puck, but it doesn't matter because Biz is perfect. It's cleaning house. Gigantic flat cannon, beautiful turnaround. Everything about that was perfect between Bonk score, getting the disruption to set it up for Bread. He lays the smackdown. Beautiful, beautiful counter initiation.
Let's not neglect Yol on the Keeper of the Light. The instant he sees Arsart in the trees, pops off his ultimate and recalls Business Perfect, who did not have a TP in his inventory.
Well, there you go. So yeah, that definitely changes up the way it worked out because they had everybody there right when they needed them to, but still, big black hole. It's exactly what they want in this situation because they can try to take a tier 2 out of this. They are going to be actually met with some confrontation here. TP's already popped off, so it looks like they're not going to go for it all the way, but putting a few hits in here, they really want to be able to put control in this lane because when you win another big fight like that, when you get a 3 or 4 man lead in a team fight, in this kind of setup where you can't take it late game, you have to start taking some long-term advantages through the towers, taking down towers and then racks. And if you still have to work through the tier 2s about 10 or 15 minutes from now, it's going to be a big problem. So right now they do have to try to start making those objectives and lock them down.
I agree. Although for now, I think they're still somewhat comfortable just because when you do see OD going Mechanism first, it's great. It's a great build. I would never say anything against it. But he's still not going to have that big intelligence stack for like a really long time. Like he's going Force Staff now, it looks like, probably.
Yeah.
Unless he just goes Dagon. he actually can.
You know.
It's going to be either Dagon or Force Staff. That's what I'm calling it right now. But the point is, he's not going to be like a holy hard-carrying terror just yet. And RoX.KIS are like pretty substantially ahead on just the numbers, especially after that last team fight, which was just huge. Not losing anybody is such a big deal. We do see
Solo trying to go for that lasso, but again, Astral Imprisoned from the Invisible Outward. They have great opportunities here with the Split Earth going down onto Solo. The hammer drops from the Outworld Devourer, but he gets disrupted up. Business Perfect doing a lot of damage. BKB'd up, but on half-life. Has to watch himself here. The homing missile closing in on NS while the lasso goes out onto Illidan. Big damage, big focus. They're going to be able to bring him. No, the prison comes back. The arrow hits onto Bread. And here comes Sergey doing a lot of potential with the Infest, but doesn't know if he wants to engage or not. Back and forth, back and forth. And it's going to be Illidan that takes too many hits. He's the one to drop, and now KSI and Sergey trying to clean it up, but they're actually just going to be casualties of war as well. Baiting them into the Dream Coil. Great Dream Coil from TMW, and it looks like they might get out, but Solo has other intentions. Beautiful flame break, jumping on, he got forced, he blinked on in. Great position to actually keep on moving forward, but the fight is over. They're just going for the towers, just pushing back Puck over and over and over until they can continue to take these big advantages.
Ah, yes. Now this is CIS Dodo. Like, just after I complain about it, the teams are just conspiring to make me look like even more of an idiot than usual today. The teams and you, because you put me on webcam. So it's just everybody against me today. No, but seriously, RoX.KIS are just playing really tight, I feel like, all of a sudden now. I like this not actually using the lasso until a little bit later when VP were already trying to run away. That's the thing, like, your chasing tools sub-lasso aren't great, but as soon as you lasso that big carry, you basically lassoed the entire team. Because, like, they have to come back to try to help Airman. Like, they can't just let him die, but usually you don't want to.
There seemed to be a lot of uncertainty. Specifically, I'm looking at Arzart's movements. He was up and down, he was north and south. He could not decide whether or not to went a right-click way. He popped off his Infest, dished out damage, healed up a bit that way, had his Rage active, and I would say all of his Rage, he was literally just running around in circles, and I don't think that they had a clear intention after that. There was a bit of chaos. There was a lot of issue with the fact that, like you said, Batrider is holding them in place, and they have to decide whether or not to commit. admit they made that decision, but in this case, it doesn't seem like the best one. Now KSI
Top
getting lassoed up here, and with this Illuminate damage as well as the Flame Break after the leap will go on through, it should be enough to bring down KSI, but they need detection. They have it. They are right-clicking him down. Or no,
Wait,
they're not.
No, are they just blind guessing?
Trapped inside the fire. He's walking away here, trying to hide out in the trees, but the Firefly expires. He's actually going to get the juke and the TP.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, no detection. What is this about? I mean, Yol, what's he got right now? 4 staff, boots, magic wand, and 1,500 gold. He has 3 inventory slots, tons of cash, no detection whatsoever. Oh my goodness.
Gem. He has 0 deaths. This is a lively coddle, and he's got 4 staff. He's not gonna get a gem. He's gonna get a Ghost Scepter, which is also great. But get a gem, man.
Just get something, anything. I mean, you can play as a support. You can be like, okay, well, I don't have cash, and then when you get cash, you're like, okay, I don't have item slots. I need all these little different things. But he's got 3 item slots. He's got 1,500 gold. There is no excuse for that at all. And Mirana, nice little play from KSI. He will.
Yeah, I also liked KSI. You remember that crappy like cell phone and like calculator game Worm where you have to like not eat your tail?
Yeah.
He was literally playing that, except trying not to get hit by the Firefly. Like, I can't actually touch the edge of this Firefly, or I will immediately die.
Dude, calculator slash, like, app game? No, that's an MS-DOS game for me. I played that game really early on. But yeah, nevertheless, yeah. He's just kind of navigating around those little, very, very complex and issues, everything hazardous nearby, but was able to slip on out of there really, really nicely.
No, it was good, honestly. The other thing is there was this weird mind game where, of course, not only do you have to avoid the Firefly, you can't avoid it too much because the other team's going to expect you to fully avoid the Firefly.
Yeah.
I don't know, mad clever play from KSI. Props to him. He's had a tough time on this Mirana. This is the one part of this lineup that I think is almost too clever. Like, Moonlight Shadow's good and all, but he's done very little other than that.
Splitter's landing on Biz is perfect, just going straight for it for NS, but he's all by himself here. He is going to take too much damage, and although it was a nice stun, there's really not too much you can expect when your team is so far away. Lazo coming out onto Arzar. They buff off the cooldown as well, so he cannot rage out. Gets to rage out the second hit, but still takes it slow. There is going to be some damage coming from Puck, but he has all of his cooldowns up. Just needs to phase on away. Jaunts for now. And it looks like he might get away from Solo, yeah. But the blinks follow on through, but it's a long, long run. The 4 staff coming up, but he doesn't want to go in all that distance. Astrally imprisoning out the missile, but still kind of disabling himself in position for 4 seconds. Either way, that team fight started off by NS, and yeah, not really going too well for him in that situation.
One thing that I like that RoX.KIS are now doing, it didn't quite pull off in that fight, but I do like this idea, is that they're now that Solo actually has the blink and the 4 staff, they're lassoing Lifestealer before he gets a chance to cast Rage, and then mana leaking him at the same time, so he forcibly loses all of his mana on the sort of trip with the Batrider. Sure. And what that means is that when he comes up, he still can't rage. Here's a Moonlight Shadow.
Coming out from Tame by Wild, gets a nice waiting ripped off on 2, but Bread still has that BKB, pops off the black hole, but on nothing but an imprisoned target. And with that, Sergey will come on out, dish out some damage here onto Fizz is perfect on the front line, whereas everybody else is falling back. This might actually be a sacrificial play, but right now Puck's the one taking the damage, and Flame Break or just a Black Cannon will be enough to bring him down. So he does take a fall to Tier 2, the next target of choice, but a disruption simultaneous with Illuminate allows the Outworld Devourer to escape.
Nice.
Great stun by NS, but Solo out of mana, can't pursue further. There is going to be that Sands Eclipse coming down on a lot of targets here. Yol will drop down. They 4 staff away, 2 heroes barely getting on out of there. They're going to be able to survive, but Outworld not so fortunate.
Gyro's just too good. He's too good of a hero. He does too much damage. No, I don't think he's too good of a hero, but he's very, very strong, and he has tons of far, but he's so high level, like level 14, and he's just beating all the way down to them with the stats and the stacks of flat cannon, and it's just too much damage for them. I appreciate, although I don't understand, this weird gentleman's agreement that RoX.KIS will not use detection against Moonlight Shadow. Because, so you can say that Dread had a PGG hole there, but he was aiming at nothing. Like, it was a blind black hole. The fact that he hit anybody is a miracle. What's up?
Vons has a gem though, so I'm not
sure.
Oh,
he does? Oh, that's totally my bad. Then that black hole was weird.
Yeah, I mean, he hit one target. He hit the Lifestealer. Again, it seems to be their high priority targeting, that they're like, screw this Lifestealer. We can't disable him any other way. We're just going to go ahead and pick on him specifically. But with that good prison coming out of the OD, they couldn't even damage him during it. So pretty much, yeah, it took him out of fight for 4 seconds, but on their terms, not on that of RoX.KIS. So
Sure.
either way.
Yeah,
now
my
the
bad
fights
about
have
the
broken
jump
down.
lanes, yeah.
They're going in for Roche. They actually got an arrow on it, and now they're looking at it dropping down to below 3k. And this is the timing RoX.KIS needs to jump in on it. They have the call down, but not the black hole. Arrow misses on everything here. Is going to be TMW. Drops some damage back and forth, but the lasso comes out on Lifestealer. Green coil onto 2, but really not accomplishing too much at all. Big and Fest coming on into the puck, keeping the lifesteal alive. Illidan forced out. He has the Aegis. He uses the mech, and it looks like they'll be able to get on out. Nice John for the flame break. Pulls Illidan back on in. It looks like he'll be able to walk away, though. It is going to be Business Perfect chasing it on the back end of things. It might be enough to bring down Puck with that Malefice, but either way, trying to close in. They're going to be able to bring down OD once. I don't think they can do so again.
Gyro's too good, dude. It's like these fights are so perfectly balanced, like, between the two teams in terms of the damage they're putting out, except for this gyrocopter that's just
arrow onto Business Perfect. He does get connected for about 4 seconds, but the Malefice comes out on KSI. It's not going to give an opportunity for OD to do that damage to anybody but Solo, who's in over his head right now. Big right clicks coming out. It's enough to bring him down. He does take a fall, but Business Perfect does get pulled out of the fire there. Either way, this has been very, very back and forth. They forced the Aegis immediately, but you can't negate the fact that they got plenty of golden experience from that Roche.
Oh yeah, I mean, they lost the ensuing fight though pretty substantially, so they do get some golden XP, but I don't think it really gives them the advantage just yet. Solo is just, he's the most bold person on this map right now. Like, he will jump into anything. He doesn't care about anything basically. Like, that last one was obviously pretty ill-advised, but everyone before that, like, his ability to just traverse a huge amount of distance and push the people he's chasing back is what's setting up the follow-up from Business Perfect, who's just doing too much damage right now. TMD, too much damage.
Definitely. I actually find it interesting that Enigma doesn't actually have to opt for a Blink Dagger just yet. He has the cash for it. He'll probably pick it up as his next big item, but right now he went for the BKB and the mechanism prior to that, and I kind of feel that's
BKB he needs, yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of feel that that's based on the fact that Batrider also had his Blink and his Force. If he can bring at least one target to him and then have at least 1 or 2 other members of VP come in as a result of that, he doesn't necessarily need to place himself in the right position. He needs the position to kind of come to him, and that's kind of what RoX.KIS's lineup is all about. Look, like I said, the call down, the illuminate, now the black hole, but now that they have the Blink Dagger up, that changes the way that their team fight's going to break down. It's not all about baiting Virtus Pro into a bad position. Now it's actually taking the fight more so to them. Solo's not going to be going in all by himself because he has a couple heroes that can jump in very, very quickly. So I really think that it's going to change up where we're not going to just see a one-man black hole, but now looking in towards 3 or 4-man, because Blink Dagger plus BKB and Enigma, very, very difficult to deal with.
Right, that's a great point, because it takes some pressure off Solo. Not that Solo hasn't performed ably in the situations so far, but he no longer, like, feels the absolute need that if he doesn't blink all the way in and Force Staff all the way in, that they just won't get the kill. Because Enigma now can come in. And he actually, I thought he used more than 1 charge of his BKB, but he actually only used 1, so this is a 9-second magic immune Enigma, and that's going to be a pretty serious deal. I feel like RoX.KIS, if they take advantage of their position pretty soon, there's not going to be much that VP will be able to do, because like I said, Outworld Devourer, like, he's only now reaching the Mystic Staff money, which he's probably going to spend. I would expect him to spend it and start moving towards that Scythe of Ice, but...
Yeah, I never really put too much stock in a BKB on Enigma as far as the charges go, because, you know, a 5-second BKB is still going to give you a full duration black hole and a midnight burst on top of that. So I really don't think it's going to be that essential one way or another, but it always helps. Extra auto attack damage, extra potential to survive against that damage output coming out from Virtus Pro. One way or another, it's good to have, but I don't think it's going to be that critical one way or another.
In this particular game, I just think that he's going to need to pop it the more preemptively he uses it, the better, because you do have an OD, Puck, Mirana, and all of those have the possibility of just killing you before the BKB, before the black hole starts. So rather than trying to use BKB in the instant prior to black holing, you might want to use it like a couple seconds before, and that's what that extra buffer zone gives you.
Yol picks up an Atos here. Do you think it's just more kite potential for that lifesteal?
I think it's disgusting, please.
No.
I actually think the Atos is good, because again, these fights have been about chasing, right? Like, every single fight has been about they start in one position and they end up about 3,000 units away. And Atos is actually the chase item. It's not actually that great unless you can use it twice in a fight, but it does have that 16-second cooldown and that incredible range. So that'll be relevant, honestly. It'll be relevant for the chases.
Big fight about to break out. Bread leading the charge. They're all smoked up here. It looks like Solo's a little bit behind, kind of not as common as we see from him, but now we do see him actually moving into the south, looking for his opportunity here. Plenty of targets. Choice. Here comes Moonlight Shadow. They have the gem still on the Shadow Demon, though. Is going to be dropping down the call down, but only on Illidan. Black Hole and Midnight Pulse, but again, only on Illidan. He's going to be brought down very, very quickly, but Puck does get that Dream Coil off on the northern end. Sergey trying to do some damage to Bonds, but to no avail. Dream Coil pops off on 2, juking on the trees. Yol is dodging out as best he can, but NS breaks the trees, breaks the damage, but a beautiful blink and mechanism coming out from the Enigma, trying to burst it down. The Illuminate hits onto KSI, dropping him quickly. He falls. NS about to drop as well, but going for the TP. They have vision from Shadow Poison. They get the damage from Black Cannon, and they get an ultra kill in the end. My screen's messing up, but I presume it was the gyro?
It was the Flak Cannon. I hate Flak Cannon plays. I just feel like this game is so close to the perfect like Russian Dota game with both teams just clashing 5 vs 5. It's like right there. Almost like 2 teams in perfect equipoise slugging it out, and then Flak Cannon kills everybody. And I'm just like, oh, what happened to my team fight?
Exactly, especially the second Flak Cannon. Like the first one, it's good initial burst. It really adds some oomph to what the Gyrocopter brings to the table with that in synergy with that call down. But when the second one comes out, it's completely cleans things up. It's like getting an Eclipse on Luna a second time around. It's just like, what the heck? It does so much damage, and when everybody's scrambling around on 20% HP, as long as he has vision, he has the damage. And luckily for him, Vons is supplying that not only with the gem, but with some really good Shadow Poisons. Everybody was debuffed in that fight. So
this Shadow Demon has never died, and that's why they put the gem on him. Like, it's so rare that an SD never dies. He's a hero that A, people like to focus, B, like, his only defense of himself is a disruption, and whenever a Shadow Demon, I don't know if you've ever played Shadow Demon, but whenever you disrupt yourself, your team just screams at you for wasting it, so, like, I mean, the fact that Vonskor has been able to stay up and contribute as much to fights as he has is a significant deal. Actually, Buzz is in serious trouble.
Yeah, actually, so even with the BKB, I don't think there's too much hope for him in this position. Drops the call down for some slow, but too much right click. He does speed away right now. Oh, good arrow from KSI. That's probably the second really good arrow that I've seen from him this game. Hopefully he'll be able to add to that tally in the future, but no, nevertheless, you can't count it out. 70 seconds down, Gyrocopter not really going to be able to participate, and his BKB just dropped down to 5 seconds, so that's going to make him less and less effective in the subsequent team fights.
Yeah. I honestly don't know. Blaze, who would you favor at this point? I feel like RoX.KIS still, just because Gyrocopter, like, Medusa, I'm happy for you and I'm going to let you be in CM, but Flak Cannon is the best AoE auto attack of all time. Like, I feel like that still gives them most of the edge, but VP, not looking too bad. I think they can pull it together, and really late game, I still feel like they might have it.
Nice. Did you make that meme up yourself, or did you find that one on the internet?
Well...
Yeah.
Bit of both.
Yeah, exactly. What isn't from the internet in that sense? Anyways, we do see initiation coming on in. To ignore your question completely, NS is going to be the one to be picked off here. No chance at all. Does hit that. I'm not even called the Moonlight Shadow. The gem, until it drops, it means that Moonlight Shadow is irrelevant. So in that situation, NS just gets picked, and they waste their big Morana CD there. As far as what team I'm looking at to take this down, looking at map control, we see that all the Tier 2s have dropped for Virtus Pro, whereas only Tier 1s have fallen for that of RoX.KIS. Also looking at the graphs, 14k over that, and yeah, crazy, 12k for experience as well. So they have a huge level advantage, they have a huge gold advantage. A lot of this is on the Gyrocopter, who is actually 70% higher in GPM and net worth than that of the Outworld Devourer, who is pretty much his main contester right here.
Yeah.
I really think that Biz is going to be too difficult to bring down unless Lifestealer really gets some great bash procs off. If he can stay on target and just bash away during the BKB, maybe there's a chance, but right now I got to give it to RoX.KIS, is having such a huge advantage despite being up against a very hard carry lineup.
Yeah, they didn't quite find the... You're right, of course. I was sort of dreaming when I said that they could out-carry it. Theoretically, they can. The problem is that they're so far behind where they need to be at this point in the game. And it's that quad-core lineup. Like, they needed to be punished even less than they were, and they weren't that substantively punished. Like, their carries, or their 4 heroes that all sort of are good with farm, all got some farm, and it just ends up not really being enough to overwhelm the fact that this Gyrocopter is just absolutely huge. If they can win... The problem is winning team fights, because right now they don't have the tools to win team fights at all. If they could somehow win, like, 2-ish team fights, I think they'd be okay. because Airman would move towards a position where he's more relevant. The nice thing is that they are whittling away those gyrocopter BKB stacks. So if Business Perfect doesn't actually rebuy that BKB, only 5 seconds means that when Illidan hits that Mystic Step, that Scythe of Ice timing, that's going to be pretty significant for them. The problem is they're just losing people constantly. I think Arsart's dead again.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, he's just in his position, nothing to really infest, purge up, and yeah, he's going to drop down most certainly. It's just how much they commit to him at this stage, and it's not enough. In this situation, Roche is pretty much going to drop down immediately, and 2 gyrocopters, far better than 1. They're probably going to be able to take high ground with this. But one thing to mention is not only is the Outworld moving in close to that Scythe, but the Puck is as well. He's still not even but halfway there, but it's to note. I mean, if Team W has a Scythe and the OD does,
oh yeah,
they have so much potential as far as their disable in synergy with their damage output. So, could be great for them, but right now they have an Aegis to deal with, and this might be a mountain that they just can't climb.
They need this is the problem, this is why I said they need to win 2 team fights. They need pretty much exactly 3,000 gold on 3 heroes. They need it on OD, Puck, and Lifestealer. And that'll give them Abyssal, because Arsart is done with his Basher. He gave up on whatever the hell he was building with that Sange. Probably SNY, actually. He gave up on the SNY. He's trying to make Abyssal. Abyssal plus 2 Scythes means that they can win, but without that they can't.
Yeah. It's difficult. I mean, yeah, if you have an Abyssal and a Halberd, great. You're going to be able to dish out a lot. We actually see the stun hitting on creep, unfortunately. Not timed perfectly either, so Business Perfect going to be able to lay waste here with a lasso coming out of KSI, immediately knocking him down so that he has to buy back. Leshrac also dropping such low life that Mechanism still is forcing him in a position he doesn't want to go in. The Standing Cliff does drop on down, but they're still just standing right up on them. So you have plenty of HP to work with. Lance takes a lot of damage with Black Hole coming down onto Team W himself, but the stun comes down on Business Perfect. They change their focus over to Gyrocopter. They bring him down for the first time, and he uses Black Cannon, so he doesn't have that buff for 7 more seconds, but he's 7 seconds away from the decimation of Virtus Pro. Right now, he just needs to survive, just needs to walk away, taking a lot of hits. There goes the leap, but it was Mana Leak, so KSI will not be able to pursue. Instead, Arzart shifts over to Yol, and he will be able to bring them down. They take the Gem of True Sight, they take the fight, and actually this was a fight they had to take to win.
Yep. The main thing is they keep the racks. My sort of question is, I'm not sure. I think it was a bit questionable of Buzz to try to bring down the racks with his pre-Aegis life, rather than just continue attacking heroes, because I think he could have brought down at least 1 more person.
Yeah, I think.
But instead, he just tried to shoot the racks. Sorry, go ahead.
What he did was, I know that he popped off Flat Cannon and got 3 of his Flat Cannon shots off. And when he was hitting the racks, that would hit all the heroes and the units anyway. So with those auto attacks, sure, but I'm not sure if he spent a couple too many. Either way.
No, I think you're right.
Okay. Right now he does have his MKB, so that helps him out a lot if the Lifestealer goes Halberd. But otherwise, do you think that adds anything more than his raw right-click damage?
You mean the Monkey King bar?
Yeah, the Monkey King bar.
Oh, I don't think this Monkey King matters at all. I mean, it gives him more damage, which is good, but they need to actually capitalize on this pretty quickly, and it has to be disheartening to them that they lost the Aegis on that fight and still couldn't manage to get too much done. But I feel like they almost just have to try again, because, you know I said 3,000 gold on everybody? Yeah, so OD has his 3,000, like, he has this Scythe of Ice done. Arsart is 1k away from Abyssal, which is going to be a big deal. Like, I can't actually overestimate how big of a deal that Abyssal's going to be. It's 40% of the time that Gyrocopter would have that BKB, and that's tons of time that Lifestealer can just sit right on top of Gyrocopter and hope for more bash procs from the Skull Basher part of it. Like, Arsart's going to be a serious problem, and, like, I know they've been lassoing him all game, but they're going to need to keep doing that. Like, in that last fight, one of the problems, lassoing KSI, I think, is a serious, like, mistake. Like, he doesn't do anything, more or less. Like, Arrow is about it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's a walking arrow. He does a little bit of extra damage on top of that, but essentially that's his big thing, especially as we go further in the late game. Magic damage is less and less, and his auto attack damage is just not competing here directly. So he is dropping off that arrow. It will hit on trees, so that's going to be a great opportunity for them to go Quelling Blade some things.
It's okay for him to be like fluff and stuff support Mirana. I just don't think that RoX.KIS need to react to that with like, oh yeah, we'll kick your ass support Mirana. Like they need to, they will really need to bring down Arsart or Illidan in these fights, one of the two.
This was kind of hit on a little bit earlier, but what do you think if the Mirana had gone the Mechanism instead of the Outworld Devourer?
It's easy to say in hindsight that maybe he should have. The issue is that OD was involved in more fights earlier than Mirana was, and so if you have a mech and you're not actually using it because the hero in question isn't there, that's a pretty useless mechanism. OD has this propensity of getting caught out really early, and Mechanism helps you a ton with that.
Refresher.
So the fact that... Where?
I'm just gonna derail that because Bread has a fucking refresher
Oh,
and BKB
man.
up for Enigma. His black holes
Yes!
haven't really been on point, but if
Yeah,
he
I was
gets
gonna-
this off,
Please, I was gonna say. Okay, so we can refresher one person
shut
for
up, shut up.
7 seconds.
I believe in Bread. I believe in Bread. Maybe not Dread, but Bread this time around. He has it going on, and he's raring to go. This is gonna be a big smoke gank up, but right now, Virtus Pro just a turn and tail and hiding in their base to wait out the smoke. I think this is probably the best thing they can do by far.
Yeah. Heroes in a half shell here. Turtling it up. No, I absolutely. This is admirable. Did they spot out the beginning of the smoke because they have a ward in this weird spot?
I don't believe so. I believe it still was pretty much premonition, knowing that they had their intentions of being on the aggression at this stage in the game, but
Good for them. Where are RoX.KIS wards, by the way?
non-existent. I mean,
Yeah.
they got a new gem, I believe. Yeah, they bought a second gem, but that's pretty much
Like-
replaced their intentions to obs it up.
If you're smoking, like, if you must smoke, which kids you shouldn't smoke. Like you should probably do it when you have the map vision to capitalize on it. Like
Sure.
if they had good wards, they would have been able to guess like, oh, they're probably in their base, or they're probably moonlight shadowing because they're obviously not Roche because we don't have them for another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So as a result, they just sort of spend all that time smoked up for no reason. I mean, they didn't lose anything because VP spent all that time holed up in their base. But they didn't gain anything either, and it's you do actually have people don't think about this much, but you have a limited quantity of smokes. Like you eventually run out of them, so when you most need them, you're like, oh crap, we actually don't have any smokes in the store.
So that thing that I was talking about earlier about Enigma's black hole charges not mattering at all because it's only 4-second duration, well, that's kind of coming into play now. He has a 7-second duration, so this one will be able to get 1 3/4 of a black hole off without any issue as far as worrying about disables. So that's actually going to be
True.
a relevant thing. That's definitely, I mean, he won't be Midnight's pulsing because of the cast animation. He just wants to get the people on in, but the damage is already going to be there. We've talked about how hard this gyrocopter hits, and it's only getting worse now that he has the 5,200 gold to put towards whatever he wants right now. Just a satanic recipe, you know, just casually throwing that on out there. But the Abyssal Blade is up, and Lifestealer has a lot of potential if he can just close in and not get hopelessly black holed.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean you're right. He actually can get interrupted halfway through the second black hole, assuming he hasn't like picked up everybody that actually would be using disables on him, i.e. KSI, TMW if he has Dreamcoil still. Actually, Waning Rift will interrupt it too, right?
I don't think you can get close the distance unless he's putting it on the far edge of himself.
That's a good point. But still a lot of stuff like Split Earth, Astral Imprisonment, even Abyssal. Although they should probably just save it for the Gyrocopter, in my opinion. But here's the thing: that 3,000 gold, like Puck has sheep, Illidan has sheep, and Arsart has Abyssal. That's like pretty much their recipe for success here. So the question is, have they waited it out long enough? Because we talked about. RoX.KIS don't still want to be playing this game at 50 minutes. I actually still don't want to be
This is their timing, but the flank is coming on in. They pop off the Moonlight Shadow. They try to get some vision with the arrow, but
the arrow.
they actually don't get that
Nice.
flank off. Technically, yeah, it connects with YOLO, or sorry, Solo, so
Yeah.
it's going to be... Well, they got YOL, they got Solo, just combine them together, whatever. But this is
he's
actually a
been playing
great
like
timing for RoX.KIS because Business Perfect just got his buyback money with this creep wave here. Assuming,
Nice.
yeah. Or, well,
The thing
actually,
is-
maybe it's reading it wrong. The buyback status isn't updating, but...
The problem with buyback here for Business Perfect is, I mean, let's hope he's not YOLO because he just signed off, and if that means he's dead, then he won't be coming back. No, but the problem with buyback when you're at the enemy's base is what he doesn't have is money for buyback plus Boots of Travel, which is really like if they could win the game right
recall.
here
They
if
have
he had
recall.
2,000 more gold. Oh, they have recall. You're right. If YOLO survives, yeah, and I guess he can because he has 4 step.
Yeah, but now what we're looking at here, it's 700... Yeah, approximately, yeah. It's 690 gold plus 1,500. So doing the quick math there, he is actually a little bit short still. So my buyback status was a little bit wrong in the first place as far as how much gold he needed. He still is about 200 gold shy. So that's going to be what he's looking for, and maybe he can get that in the team fight. 1 kill, 1 assist, that's all he really needs. But it actually could be do or die if he doesn't get that buyback money right at the exact timing window, which is seemingly right now, because the Batrider has popped off his lasso, has gone off the grid, quite literally trying to go and find an opportunity flanking up on the eastern perspective. But yeah, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think they want to push here. They kind of have to push. Like we talked at the beginning, 50 minutes in, VP, and this is actually the exact time we ended up reaching, is that at 45 minutes, VP are starting to look pretty good. Like, they've got this Ghost Scepter on Leshrac, which is pretty significant. It means that NS is going to live for a lot longer and spam off at least that Pulse Nova and possibly Edict. So that's no joke. KSI is actually up to level 17. So this Mirana still more or less meaningless, but getting less meaningless by the moment. And then the 3 core heroes, I mean, these guys are actually doing quite well. They're, like, we have the Scythe of Ice and the Blink on TMW. We've got the Abyssal and Casual Ogre Club, which could eventually be a Halberd as well. On, well, actually, at this point, why not make it into the Sanjinyasha? The Halberd's pointless now that Gyrocopter has MKB.
I mean, there is the possibility of technically going BKB on lifesteal. I don't think it would be great here because you're up against so many piercing disables. But in some games, it is actually possible to do that and stack up.
I love me
like a 20-second magic immunity or something like that. But
sure.
And in this case, even though the evasion won't do much up against a MKB Gyrocopter who hits with flat cannon anyways, I definitely think the Halberd is the active of it in combination with the Abyssal is actually going to work very, very nicely for them.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. He could go it. That's true. But the point is, like, they're actually starting to look okay. And, like, if they win another team fight convincingly, that's going to be another, like, high int stack item for Airman. Like, if he doesn't have to buy back, which if they're losing the racks, he actually will have to use his money for buyback, which he could probably afford. Can he afford it?
All right, so we're getting on into it. You said if they could win another team fight, but that's the if right here. We have 2 black holes. We have Business Perfect with a Satanic. Both these heroes so clutch in the timing window. Looking back at buyback, we'll see if that's available as he kind of surges up the ramp here. But really? Another pause coming on out, a little bit of cool lightning and orb effects, but looks like somebody got something screwed up one way or another.
It's KSI Tacticheska, he says give it a tactical pause.
Nice. Anyways, here we go. This is really, really key timing here. Mirana already mana leaked up, pops off that arrow, but she's out of mana. The arrow will miss. She's pretty much out of this fight as far as usefulness. There is Infest inside puck. KSI gets lassoed up. Again, committing the lasso to KSI, but here is big damage from TMW and Sergey on the front lines. Bread looking for that black hole, but he does get Abyssaled up. Here it comes, finally jumping on the black hole, but only onto 1 here. And that's jumping in the fray. There is going to be the damage coming out of Illidan. Big hammer drop the mechanism as well, but Business Perfect pops the Satanic. Already used his BKB, but he's dishing out the damage he needs to. Screw buyback. He can just clean house on the first go. Now trying to clean it up. Nice blink away from TMW, but he is just going to hide in the trees, and this will be enough time for them to go for Rex if they would focus.
They have the melee already.
Like, they got the melee, but I don't know. I think they could easily take this range. I guess they're just too worried about that full HP Illidan coming back on into it with that buyback.
Full HP and mana, like, it's no joke. He does a lot of damage. No, I actually like that they peeled off. Ranged is so much less important than melee, honestly. It's important, I'm not saying it's not. But melee is really the one that you desperately want. And they got it, and they got out. Again, a fight that, like, seems, like, perfectly balanced through the 2 teams, and then just Flat Cannon, like, incidentally destroys everybody. So, disappointing me here today. But no, I think this is great. And RoX.KIS are playing a fantastic game. I just think that they have to keep the pressure on, and so far they've been smart about it. They have been keeping that pressure on. And so long as that continues to happen, it's going to continue to be tough for VP. But you can see, Blaze, that the tide is turning a little bit. Like, it's like they're getting closer and closer every fight to actually being able to deal with this, including that one that they won. I still don't love the lassos on Mirana, for one thing.
Oh, God.
Especially after he uses arrow, because that's like the main threat is that you randomly get somebody stunned. So while it's on cooldown, who cares?
Yeah, it's short enough cooldown, but they also mana leaked his leap so that he had no mana whatsoever.
That was good. I liked that play.
No, yeah, I'm saying once that happened, then why in the world would you lasso the Mirana?
Right.
No reason at all.
Also, BKB, I'd like to do some big Blaze callouts. He got interrupted during the first black hole because he had to pop the BKB preemptively.
Well, there you go. So, yeah, not able to finish it out. No, they abyssalled him, I thought. Or no, they abyssalled him prior to it. He had BKB'd, then they abyssalled him, and then he black holed.
Yeah, that's
so that was the preemptive thing that you were talking about there. Going on in, Business Perfect actually getting flanked up. Beautiful flank coming out of Virtus Pro. This is terrible for him. They can't recall. He's sheeped up. He's abyssalled up. He's going to get dropped down, and that's going to force his buyback here. He's back up in the fray. They're going to be able to give him Roshan, but they did lose his buyback, so only 2 gyros, not 3.
Yeah. A paltry 2 gyrocopters, yes. This is definitely leading team problems. Is that we only have 2 gyrocopters and not 3.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So finishing it off, the Aegis picked up by Gyro. The Chi is going actually over to Bread. Arrow. Just trying to get some
dedication to the bread thing. It's good. No,
I will never. This entire game, he will not be known as Dread. He wants to be Bread. He'll be Bread. No way about it. But although Black Hole B has been available this entire time, now we're going to see Black Hole A coming off cooldown 30 seconds from now, and that's going to be.
Cheese is no joke.
Yeah. Really big deal. Hasted Gyrocopter also not a joke because that is something that you can pretty much, or sorry, Hasted Batrider, you can pretty much get full vision. But we do see initiation. They go for double sheepstick off onto Biz Perfect, bursting him down, trying to get his Aegis on cooldown with a big stun from NS. They might be able to accomplish it. Douching out a lot of damage, the life stealing away. Biz Perfect brings down NS, trying to go for more. He gets Abyssal up, right clicks away. He pops the BKB, but they don't actually finish him off. He's still life stealing away. Outworld actually got forced back, and he was not able to clean it up fast enough. Now the old will drop down. KSI gets an arrow onto Biz. They're going to try to clean it up here, but Black Hole coming on through. This is Black Hole A going down on Illidan, being able to bring him down, and now going on KSI with a Malefice, trying to clean this up nicely. And in this position here, KSI, such a rough spot. They could just stand here and see him, but they just don't care. Going in, trying to finish off Sergey. They're going to go for an Armlet Regeneration Rage. He's going to actually be able to get his HP up high enough, but Bread could go in for that blink, not by himself, though.
Regen run is great. Yeah. What a fortuitous pickup there.
Solo
nice arrow.
Up. They're actually going to go on in with Sergey, who just TP'd back into the base. Going to be able to clean him up nicely. Very smooth, but a buyback comes out nevertheless.
40 seconds for the OD. I feel like they have to take advantage of this. I don't know. I really think they need to do this right now. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Nah, I mean, it's getting to that point where they have to make a really big impact every time they get these kind of tiny windows. But they're afraid. They've lost Biz's Aegis. Now he gets Abyssal up and going on in. Second Black Hole coming on through, hitting onto both NS and Arzard, bringing them down. Gyrocopter, BKB, Satanic, bringing back to full, bringing down the Lifestealer, and now just going for the tower. Flat Cannon down KSI in its wake. And yeah, they're going to be able to clean this up, move in towards this second pair of racks. It's not over until the Ancient falls, but right now in a great spot to take this game, 100%. There is going to be a nice little play there. Bread does get stunned out, but he has no cheese. He has no Black Hole. He'll be able to walk on out of this. Good stuff from NS, though. Illidan laying the smack down, able to bring him down with his right clicks, trying to pursue onto Enigma, but it gets blinked away. Still invisible, but Gem should be actually on no one at all, so they don't really technically know their direct positions, but they still seem to be quick enough on their feet to be able to escape on out, and there's another buyback coming out from Arzard.
He only afforded it now. That's why the timing seems awkward. He was saving up like bit by bit. And Vanscore, he doesn't have buyback either, actually, on the Shadow Demon. So
okay, actually missed the takeoff here. Puck was able to stay on target on the Shadow Demon and was able to just keep on top of him. Has a Scythe, plenty of solo kill potential with that, and yeah, that was actually really important there because the Shadow Demon cannot afford buyback himself, and he does add a lot to the team fight.
No, absolutely. I mean, picking off Business Perfect in particular gives them a lot of time. I still feel like RoX, they're getting better and better, Blaze. Like, they're becoming a really strong team, I feel like. If they stay together, if they don't have any more roster changes, I actually think these guys are legit. Like, they already take a game off of pretty much anybody. They they took a game off Empire, they took a game off Dignitas, with a freaking Omni Knight at that. They took a game off Maus. They just beat Kaipi in the 4PL Cup for the month. In a very good 3-game series as well. I think they're getting better, but I still think a few things about their execution are sloppy. Like, in that fight, they completely doubled up ultimates. A Lasso came out at the exact same time as Black Hole 2 on, and all it hit was Arsart. Like, both things, they just hit Arsart. NS ended up walking into it, which boo earns to NS for that, but still, like, you can't really double that up because they needed the Lasso to actually take care of Illidan when he came into the fight, and they didn't have it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a pretty big deal there. Actually going for a Hyperstone. What is OD going to be picking up with a friggin' Hyperstone? I mean, Assault Cross, I guess, is a pretty
casual
good
Hyperstone. Who cares? Casual Hyperstone's fine, because he does so much damage, and the BKBs have run so down that...
He doesn't have a BKB himself, so he's not going to be able to avoid the Halberd and the Atos and everything else that they can kite away with. I mean, I know it's not as big of a deal when you worry about the Black Hole and the Lasso, but... I don't know, just committing to that Hyperstone, it increases your damage, but you're still going to get disarmed, you're still going to get all these other disables coming on in, and I don't know, I guess it's just he wants to make sure he's dishing out a lot. The attack speed was something that he didn't have. I mean, I think he has like plus 30 from the power treads, so it does give him a considerable boost. I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying, is that the most efficient use of his item set right now?
I like it. Actually, because okay, yeah, they halberd him, but halberding him means you don't halberd other people. Like, for instance, KSI, he's actually kind of arrived with this MKB because it means at least he can deal damage to Gyrocopter. Airman, sorry, Biz is actually, I thought it was Airman because he's on Gyrocopter. This entire time I've just thought this was the wrong player. No, but Biz is Perfect is gonna have a lot of trouble actually, like, living. It's getting to the point where it's not just the disables he needs to be worried about, it's just straight up damage. Like, The combination of Arsart, KSI, and Airman is going to deal in... All they want to do is kill Booz. Like, period. And they're going to be able to do that, I feel like.
Coming in, looking for the lasso,
Nice.
they get it onto Puck, bringing him down. No scythe, no
That's a big
halberd.
deal.
The BKB nullifies that arrow. Now Illidan in a terrible spot, does get blinding lighted. Another big disable that he cannot afford. The black hole comes out on
Nice
top
Black
of him alone. They're going to be able to bring him down, but KSI doing a lot of damage to Bread. Barely gets that mech off to survive. NS goes sceptered up, but will take a fall himself. Trying to pursue on through. KSI will be dropped because this Mana Leak keeps him in place, and the good game is called right here.
Wow. Just they got caught out. TMW got completely caught out. If they had avoided that fight, maybe. But as a result, I mean, again,
They were already
it
on
looked
really
like-
thin ice, man.
Yeah, no, they were. No, they definitely were. But RoX.KIS, like, I don't know. I feel like VP, a lot of times, were getting somewhat close to pulling it back, and just couldn't do it because A, gyrocopter, pretty big deal, and B, just RoX.KIS always pressuring at the right times. So good job by them, honestly. Really, really good execution in this game one, just in general.
I think VP's positioning was really good because the black holes obviously just weren't there. I don't think that's entirely Brett's fault. It's just the way that it kind of worked itself out, where he always wanted to prioritize a certain person that was never near any other collateral heroes. So in that situation, yeah, they actually had really good positioning, really good ways to avoid the pressure. But nevertheless, they just couldn't pull it on through because they were so pressured to farm to try to pull it back. They got the experience back, but the gold was still so far ahead in RoX.KIS, and unfortunately TMW getting picked off there with that lasso kind of sealed their fate here. So they definitely tried, they gave it a fighting chance, but game one does go to RoX.KIS. Do you have any other closing thoughts on this one here?
I have no thoughts other than I will come in like halfway through game two probably, or a little into game two.
Okay, no problem at all. Yeah, so it's just going to be a solo cast for the first like 20 minutes of game one, but not that big a deal. I'll cover the draft and everything else along with that. So I'll catch you later until then.
Cool, dude. Talk to you in a bit.
Sure thing. But that was a really interesting game. The way that played out, Enigma with a refresher orb, that's not something you see every day. And then, of course, the Outworld Devourer just kind of laying into it. The Mirana actually kind of came into her own. KSI was doing some nice damage, so I really liked how it played out there. But in general, they got greedy with their picks. The draft they selected is great at 55 minutes if you have, like, even if you cut even throughout the first half of the game, but they were destroyed the first half of the game. They almost pulled it back, but it was just a little bit too much for them to handle, and Biz is perfect, playing very nicely on that gyrocopter with the support of a very solid initiation team. So that's going to be it. Going on into game two. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.